So you bought a car for 75 grand and now it's worth 35 grand. That sucks for you, but it doesn't suck for people who want to buy your car and can buy your car for 35 grand. It's the 50% depreciation show. That's today on After Drive. The bang for your buck show. It's what can you get for 35 grand that used to be 70 grand. And to talk about that, we got Zach Moseley, Mike Prichinello, again from the Classic Car Club Manhattan. And here we are at your garage, showroom / clubhouse and
home.
Yeah.
Home to our children.
Yeah, well, welcome back.
Yeah, good to have you
here.
Yeah.
And this is, I have to point out, I have to thank our friend Jason Harper for keeping my seat warm last week. But there are 90,000 viewers of you out there. Not 10. There's not 10 Jason Harper. I'm happy to be back. Good to see everybody.
10 times 9,000, I guess, would
right?
that be? My math is...
If he thought there were 10 people watching, would he have shown up?
Well.
Definitely not.
Sorry, Harper. It's all good. It's all good.
So, cars that have depreciated a lot. Depreciation is our friend, just as it's not the friend of the guy who buys the newest and the greatest when it comes out. Well, one man's having it all is the other man's sucker, and we're the other man. So that's this was actually your idea. It came out of a thought exercise.
Yeah, and here's the thing. For years, I remember whenever I was talking to someone about the best bang for your buck car, it was always a 996 turbo. You know, and while it's not my favorite car in the world, you just couldn't argue the fact that you could get one for 35 grand. And it would take on just about anything currently on the road pretty handily in most driving conditions. So, and it is a great car. You know, not the most loved era of Porsches, but you know, it's a Porsche 911 Turbo. It's really good. And for a long time, that was the only car that really ticked that box. And with the current generation of new models coming in, pushing the previous generation down, I see a whole great big list of cars. They're going to tick that box.
You know, we buy and sell cars all the time, and I remember you and I had a conversation about a year and a half ago, and we were saying there's like no new cars out. There's nothing.
Yeah.
I guess during the downturn, development, R&D slowed down a little bit. I mean, the Gallardo, how long was that thing floating around for? A long time, you know, and I felt like everything was like that. And we had I think it was the Audi R8.
Yeah,
what
that was the only new supercar.
I know everybody loves it. Just for me, it wasn't the car. It was not my favorite thing, but everybody loved it because it was just different. It was something new and it looked a little bit more modern. And now that the economy is a little bit better and R&D money has come back and all these great new models have come out, all those cars from 3 years ago I think are on this list.
Well, that's it. I mean, look at the Detroit Auto Show. Look what came out. The new Z06, right? The new...
awesome, by the way.
Awesome.
I haven't driven it yet,
looks great. BMW's M3 and M4. Now, I mean,
now an
M2? M2? Well, that's... Well, we could talk about that.
I know, it's a different story.
Well, we should have talked about that on Harper's show. Anyways.
So, the cars that we always talked about as depreciating, like the E92 M3, we actually have a whole list on my sheet that's on the floor. So if I look at the floor, that's what I'm looking at.
And there's another, in coming up with the list, I realized another commonality to them that ticked all the boxes and everything we've been talking about. You know, we came up with this accidental hypothesis a little while ago that as manufacturers have to focus on lightness since it maxes out the power, we're going to get better drivers' cars. And the interesting about all these cars is they represent the last of a soon-to-be bygone era of analog cars.
That's pretty true. I mean,
every car that replaces a car on this list is gone more and more and more digital.
Yeah.
With the exception of things like the BRZ and the Kia Stinger thing that's coming out.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a focus on this modest price range driver's car that's analog again, but all the replacements of these cars we're going to talk about all come with forced induction, electric steering,
that's a really strong
crazy
point.
Driver aids, all these things.
Well, because almost every car we're talking about, not every car, I mean a fair amount of them are naturally aspirated, and the new models are blown or boosted in some way. So that's something to consider. I mean, like, let's look at the Z06. The Z06 was right here.
Yeah.
You know, the 7-liter naturally aspirated 8.
Yeah.
Fantastic engine.
Still a great car.
Still a great car.
Very limited driver aids. I mean, no, it has traction control, but barely. I mean, you can
really
full
kill yourself
traction.
in
You
that
can
one.
get that thing to slide whenever you want.
Yeah, and the new one, obviously new chassis, brand new, from the ground up, basically. But it's the supercharger now. So I mean, you give and you take.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying though that this you could get for 35 grand, because
Sure.
I find that
You could buy it and still have enough money to buy new wheels for it.
really, because
times,
I'm
yeah.
serious. I haven't seen. I mean, I'm not in the market a lot.
I mean,
so.
I bought this one with 40,000 miles, maybe 6 months ago.
Yeah, about.
For 37.
Wow.
So, and that was before the Stingray was really even well known. I mean, I think it had just been announced, but not seen on the road. And now with the Z06 down there, this is only going to go one direction for a little while. But I do think that the analog thing, we're gonna hear about this. So the guy you talked to about the Kia coined it, but funny thing is we had been saying the same thing about the same time. You must have been interviewing him.
Yeah, are you talking about Tom Kearns, the
Tom
designer
Kearns.
from Kia? Yeah, we talked about
Exactly.
this thing.
He used analog a lot in his dialogue, and that's the first time I've read anyone say that about car stuff. But just like the 993 guys look back and say the last of the air-cooled Porsches, I think we're going to look back and say these are the last of the air-cooled or last of the analog sports cars.
It broke my heart a little bit. We have a 997 Targa. I'm sorry, 991. We have a new 991. We have
Not Targa, just a 991.
Right, just 991. We have the GT3 coming. I loved our 997 Targa. I love all Porsches. I'm a Porsche-ophile. But when I was driving the 991 and the first time I got to a red light and the engine shut off on me, I'm all for like the environmental capacity of it, but
that's a strange
just felt
moment
like
when
this-
you
Yes,
realize
it was a
that
strange
Porsche has
moment.
done that. Yeah,
And
and
I just
you
went-
can turn it off, right? You
Yeah.
can turn it off, but like you realize, oh wow, the Porsche's
went,
gone that way too.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, you're blah blah blah, and you're
Yeah.
out. It's like and then it starts up again. You're like, oh wait, this is like a
It's good for
like
everybody.
a Nissan Note, Versa Note or something.
I'm not one to say that development shouldn't happen and cars right now are perfect, but they're just going in a different direction, and that direction will be great. But it just sort of wound up on my doorstep while I was on the West Side Highway. And I wasn't ready to date like that yet. It was
All right,
upset me a little.
so let's kind of get through this, because we could be here all day and night with this list, because it's a really good list.
Yeah.
So after Z06, we're talking E92 Bmw M3.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of boxes are ticked there. Hydraulic steering, naturally aspirated, and what an odd future classic that's going to be. The only V8 M3 ever.
Yeah, that's true.
Like-
and it's interesting that you should mention steering, because steering is at a place right now where we've given up a lot of feel for a lot of reasons. It's not only the electric steering, because wider tires, heavier cars, more complicated systems and stuff like that. But those are factors. I mean, the electric steering is a factor. So hydraulic steering definitely, you are definitely more connected to the mechanics of what's happening.
Definitely a driver's point of view.
Yeah, it's not that the electronic steering is any less accurate or any less, well
more
sorted to. Yeah, I mean, and they're getting the weighting better, and it's all that stuff, but it's still all artificial.
It's still Xbox, isn't it?
It's still Xbox.
And I think that E90 or E92 M3 does represent like a sort of perfect moment. I know everyone loves the E30 and stuff, but what the E90 did is it brought it into like a civilized level where it's still really a dynamic car. The chassis was really good, and it balanced and refined and compliant enough suspension that you could actually enjoy it in real roads. And it always felt like a fresh pair of running sneakers. You get in and it has a little set it in the corner and it springs back.
It surprises you every time you drive it, right? Because it's a big sedan.
Yeah.
But when you want to have fun and be a bit of a hooligan,
Predictable.
suddenly like, wow, this thing, it's fast, man. It's fast and it corners wonderfully.
It's true. It's a great car to drive, but it's also pretty reliable. I mean, from what I've heard, people who
completely.
own them tend to not have to do a whole lot of work to them. I mean, you know,
we sold ours with 110,000 miles on it.
Really?
It's still great.
I mean, other than consumables, which are expensive, right? So you're looking at brake pads are in the hundreds instead of in the, well, maybe in the front. Maybe probably the back it's cheaper than hundreds.
Yeah.
But
Just take the back ones, put those in the front.
yeah, this is interchangeable.
Easy.
No, but that's something to consider. Tires are expensive and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
35 grand for one? Have you really seen
Yeah.
35 grand?
They're there.
The
That's
rule
pretty
with all
good.
these, you have to be a little bit patient,
Yeah.
and you have to learn the digital subculture of your brand. So, you know, if it's a BMW, start on eBay, sort of see where it's going, but you got to find the right blogs and where I think the people who have a real passion for that model, where they're hanging out, and that's where you find them.
That's true. You know, we tend to go to eBay to browse, but
Yeah.
ultimately, if you're going to look for one of these, it's
eBay
best to go to
pricing
the
is-
fan forums and stuff. Yeah.
Zach always says,
Yeah.
people go, oh, the car's going for this. Zach says, it hasn't been sold though at that price.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
You got to look at the ones that are actually
Well,
sold. to give you
That's a
better
good
sense
point. Look at the sold,
Yeah.
the
Not what people
sold,
are asking.
auctions. Yeah, yeah.
And,
that's true.
and remember too, we're talking about cars that we'll see hit this mark in the next 12 months. And
Right.
you know, that we've only seen the M4 on U.S. soil for the first time a week ago. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
So
yeah.
when they're actually out there on the road, there's going to be a sharp drop. I'd say even high miles ones, not even that high, but say 60, 70,000 will hit 30 grand.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
So 30 grand for an E92 with 50,000 miles on it, it sounds like kind of a no-brainer if you've got the money. If you've
Yeah.
got, I mean, honestly, like, it's either that or a Camry, you know, V6, so what are you gonna do? Okay, what's next? Okay, 997 C2S, right?
Right?
So 997,
997. I was actually surprised by that one.
I'm really surprised that that's in the 30s because the strange things about 911s right now is that all the G bodies are going for ridiculous money compared to what they were going for a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah.
Even the SCs are like
Yeah.
they're probably going up in some cases more than the ones that came after.
Percentage-wise, yeah.
Percentage-wise, yeah. But nobody wants a 996. So if you wanted a 996, it's actually a really good time to be a Porsche
I never
mechanic.
really understood that either. 996, I think is a great car.
It's a good car. I mean, there are issues
Everybody
with the
hates on
early
it.
engines.
Yeah, it's got the headlights. Whatever.
A little eggy looking.
Whatever.
If you could come
I
up
think
with a,
I think a 996 has a fantastic silhouette though. When you see one side on, it looks like it's going fast in your driveway. I think it's a great car.
it's not bad. If someone,
Zach doesn't like it.
I mean, for me, it was the least connected of the Porsches, you know?
yeah, I mean, a lot of
They brought
things
it back
changed.
in the 997 quite a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the 997 is a
It's
great
true.
car. I mean,
997 is, and if you go, my favorite 997 is obviously the GTS because you get it's probably the best value, and you get everything in one package. So that
And then
one
you have
is
to
not.
explain to everybody
Yeah.
what it is too.
You're gonna explain, yeah.
Well,
It's true.
made
But
for
you're not
me.
going to get that for 35 grand.
No.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about for 35 grand?
You're gonna talk about an early C2S, so like
An
a
S.
2005, 2006 with some miles again, but don't be scared of miles. I mean, unless you're never gonna drive and keep the miles low, these are Porsches. You know, they're mass-produced cars. They hold up really well. You know, if you find one with 50 or 60,000 miles at 35 grand, greght, buy it. You know,
Yeah.
it's not gonna be any worse off. Than one
I
with
think that's a
20,000
good
miles.
sub point too. That
Yeah.
high mileage cars within this era, they're still real. I mean, they're really reliable. You run into problems if people may have driven them a little hard, and you have things like bushings and stuff. But I find the engines of the modern day cars are pretty damn bulletproof.
Yeah.
I don't think anything on this list would give you too much of a hassle.
Yeah, I mean,
At 60,000 miles.
again, cheap to run as a Z06, probably not. Consumables on a Z06 are going to be a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
So again, you're buying a Porsche, you're getting all the things that come with that, including maintenance and upkeep.
You mean like driving shoes and gloves?
Driving shoes and gloves. Oh yeah, no, you got to be spending six figures.
Martini
Okay,
racing suspenders?
Better. But
I should have
things,
worn my belt.
but you're going to be paying 120
Yeah.
bucks for an oil change. But whatever. I mean, you got a Porsche for the price of a Camry V6.
You
so
can
what
do
are
it
gonna
yourself.
And you could do it yourself,
DIY, man.
DIY. But then with the next time when you try to sell it, you got to kind of explain to them.
It's a
You got to
200
show them
car
your
by then.
spotless workshop.
Whatever. Right here. So,
And the C2S, I mean, I think that car goes overlooked a lot because there's turbos and GT3s and special things like the Targas. But we had a Targa, and that was a great car. And I didn't drive many two-wheel drive 997s for a while
Yeah.
instead of a GT3. And I drove a C2S last week, and I was like, holy shit, this thing is really fast.
I
and,
prefer
it's
them
really
too.
direct and it feels light and agile.
I'm not a
everything
four-wheel drive
about it
Porsche
is
guy.
good. Yeah.
I would way prefer the 2S.
All right, so but now I know the answer to this, and the answer is always never a cabrio. But cabrios are even cheaper than 35 grand, or no? In this case,
honestly,
you gotta get a lot of extra tanning. So.
I mean, because the answer for us is never a cabrio. I don't even shop them. I have no idea.
We have to talk about that. But but all right, another thing though, we
didn't know
talk
you
about,
swung cabrio.
Hey, you gotta do something over here, right?
Exactly, it's luxuriant in the wind. Yeah. No. So, but the thing about what I mean is that the unpopular cars.
Yeah.
The SMG Bmw M3s.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, obviously the later SMGs aren't really that bad. They're not as good as PDK. They're not as quick acting.
The
But
first ones are pretty glitchy.
first ones are pretty glitchy.
Some people like them. I don't know. I don't.
Are you going to get one for even cheaper? Or I don't even think.
Yeah, probably you will. Yeah, like a SMG. So we're saying like E46 SMG.
No. I'm thinking like an E92 SMG.
When did they go to the DCT though? Wasn't it right?
Oh,
with
that
the
was
E90?
later.
Or later? Was it a later? Was
That's
it
a good question.
I don't know.
I'm going to look that up, but I think it was midway through the generation. I don't think
yeah?
the early
Yeah.
generations had DCT. I think I had the last gen SMGs.
Yeah, so I couldn't tell you for that because I haven't really compared either. But
right, we'll have to
but
talk
going
about
by E46 numbers, yeah, the 6 speeds are less common, more money.
So we're at Corvette, BMW, Porsche.
Wait, the other BMW, by the way, I looked for a couple, is Z4 M Coupe.
Oh, that was always, it's interesting. That
Found them
was
just
always
getting in there. Personally, I love that car. It's
Well,
not the prettiest
You know,
thing.
it's interesting. Those things have actually started to appreciate it a little bit already.
It's already happening. It's already happening.
Like they dipped into the high 20s at
Yeah,
one point.
I know.
And now a nice one is going to be mid 30s or
Yeah.
so.
I think they're sort of riding on the back of the clown shoe revival, right? Because everybody's looking for a clown shoe, but for a while, not a lot of people were looking for my clown shoes. Wow, I didn't realize. Everybody's looking for a clown shoe.
Well done. Those are quite stylish, though, too.
Thank
so
you. No, they're good for the winter because it's 0 degrees out there.
It's minus something.
Minus 0
Yeah.
something.
0 minus
0 minus 0. So, what the hell were we even talking about?
We're talking about Z4
So
M Coupe,
Z4
greatest car
M
ever
Coupe,
made.
right? So the Z4 M Coupe was a bargain in the 30s, but I mean it cost. But we're not talking about a $70,000 car. That's was in the
it's
50s. Or
Yeah,
high
all right. I'm a
50s.
little low on that.
So, but it's
I'll
still a
put
good
it in the
car.
category of the cars that we're talking about.
Yeah.
It hangs. It hangs.
It
with them
hangs.
Really well.
No, it's a good, and people overlook them because a lot of enthusiasts look right to the clown shoe and kind of say, well, that thing looked too sharky or weird. But it was a good car.
Yeah, and bringing it back to the analog conversation. That
Yeah.
is a genuine analog BMW, which is quite hard to find.
Yeah, I always consider it like a baby Z06, like
Yeah.
a real
Yeah.
kind of tail-happy monster of a
Tail happy
car.
monster, hydraulic steering.
Yeah.
They didn't put in the variable crap that's in the 3 Series at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great car, and I'd take one in a minute.
Yep.
I wouldn't.
All right,
I wouldn't think.
what else
What
got
was
spin?
next?
All right, so C63 AMG,
Not my kind of car, but everybody loves them. And you can get them for 35
35 grand. I don't buy it. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
believe it. Why? Really? 35
Within the year, yeah.
within the year? So we are actually. Yeah, we're talking about.
This isn't
The
like
beginning
this
of
isn't
the
grocery
year.
shopping.
Yeah.
Right? There's no
Well,
produce section.
and-
You have to pick your model, but
Right.
you will find them in these cars. So
And
you,
this
you're gonna
year,
have to do your math.
But and we're talking about depreciation that will happen as the new models roll out.
Yeah, and to be clear for everyone, the criteria we kept ourselves to is like 06 or newer.
Yeah.
And hitting this mark for the first time. So don't come up and say, "Oh man, you missed the Supra," or yeah, we know that you can get those cars
You
for
can
less than
say
35
that.
grand. They're
Yeah.
awesome.
I'm going to ignore you.
Yeah, that's right. We should say 2006
Yeah.
is really the. In other words, one generation generally passed or
Yeah.
previous to what's
Yeah.
currently brand new.
I've got a more interesting one for you though. I think it might be the next on the list. The W211 E63 AMG wagon.
Oh, of course. Well, that's always the answer to that.
Which those cars were, they've been solidly in the 40s, but they're just starting to get into the high 30s now. And that car, it'll only dip there for seconds and go back up.
So to me, and I might be completely wrong, and the AMG guys are going to probably be pissed off, but I always feel like AMGs are a little bit more of a risk in terms of expense and in terms of what you're going to have to spend on taking care of it. Now, can you just get an aftermarket warranty just so at least you'll have like a blanket in case the transmission goes and you have to drop like $6,000.
You can, and I know like I've sold cars to people that set that up and have good things to say about it. I have no first-hand experience myself with it, but you can do it. I think they're pretty expensive. I mean, you spend $3 or $4 grand for a warranty like that.
But I mean, like, $3 or $4 grand. If you're going to keep a car like an AMG wagon for a while, you just don't want that catastrophic thing to happen, and then it's sitting in your garage, and you're like, it's my car, but I'm on a bicycle now because I bought a $35,000 AMG.
Right between a bus and a Benz.
That's right. Exactly.
It's true, but
they're solid cars. It's not like they're gonna break down, but like that transmission always to me feels like that's the weakest.
Clanky,
if you're gonna have to,
I agree.
If you're gonna have to pick a weak link.
For
It's
me,
also just another slow gearbox.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, and I appreciate that running a shop and maintaining 40 cars, I'm a little less risk adverse than the typical buyer.
Yeah.
But having access to shops and to secondhand part suppliers and stuff, I mean, I'm pretty comfortable owning a car like that out of warranty because, the gearbox goes. I'm not going to go buy a $6,000 gearbox from Mercedes. I'm going to find a sedan that was crashed and pull the tranny out for $1,500 bucks.
I mean, if you can do that, bless your heart, because that's where you're really going to get the value out of a depreciated car. But you already know that because you probably already have one.
Yeah.
So that's probably not speaking to that guy.
But but it is the beauty of a depreciated car that it's old enough that there's going to be some that have been crashed and are in junkyards.
Yeah, it's true.
There's a window, and I've seen that window come and go because the part supply runs out after enough people have them. Maybe I would say we're right at the sweet spot. Like say 6 to 8 years, there's a good supply, and 10 to 12, it starts going away.
Yeah. All right. So next is the Auto Journalist Special CTS-V. Everybody seems to love that car.
I really like that car. I've had
wagon or sedan. If you like.
The wagon you're not going to get in the price range because they didn't come out till later. 2011, they're still 40s and 50s, but an 09 or 2010 sedan.
Yeah.
We actually. I don't know if we won it, but we put a bid in for one at 35-1 today.
You're kidding. So this is actually going to be a good test of this strategy.
Yeah, we'll see if you get it. And this is wholesale, but that car would retail for 37 or something. But
so 37 for a CTS-V. That's starting to
black too. It's the right color.
Yeah, that's the right color.
It's the package that you want.
That's starting to get interesting because consumables, again, like the Corvette, not going to be as expensive as a German car. Just it isn't, and that's it's.
And the nice thing about these, we're talking $35,000 for a car, which is not a lot.
Right.
And they are. I think a lot of the cars on the list are multifunctional. So CTS-V, I don't care if you have kids or anything. It's a great car. You go shopping with it, and you can also completely let that thing loose. So
It's. I mean,
it's a lot of value in it.
There's a lot of value. That's plenty of value. No, it's a nice car to drive, and it's a nice car to drive on a highway when you've got your foot in it all the time. It's a riot.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it would be my choice of this list, but it's. I mean, if you throw me the keys, I'm not going to throw them back.
It'd be a top 3 for me.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's a good car.
Really like that car. We've had some good experience with it.
Yeah.
The only thing that's brutal on it's fuel consumption, to be honest.
Oh, yeah,
that's true.
It's
true.
The other 35 grand is your fuel bill for the year.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, you could do.
But we have proven as a group that it's not what you drive; it's how you drive.
Yes.
Yeah, but that is one car. A short story because I've been, I'm wagon obsessed and I've owned a lot of stuff at the dealership.
Yeah.
I had a CTS-V wagon a couple years ago, and I took it with the kids up to Cape Cod and back.
Yeah.
And on the way back, my son fell asleep in the back of the car, and I just filled up. I'm like, man, I just gotta get back in New York without him to fill up. I don't want to wake him up. If anyone has 3-year-olds out there, you know what it's like. You don't want to wake up a 3-year-old in the middle of a drive. So I was just trying to squeak out enough fuel economy to make it back without filling up, and I could not do it, no matter what I did.
How close did you get?
Not far. I was on the Hutchinson Parkway, and I finally threw in the towel.
Yeah.
Because they want to. Breaking down to the 3-year-old would be worse.
No,
running, I guess.
Yeah.
We were so close.
But the next year, and the CTS was always my favorite of that category, like wagon. The next year, I did an E92 AMG wagon, naturally aspirated, bigger displacement, which seems to be the way to get better fuel economy because I was able to coast that thing and get 21, 22 miles a gallon. I actually got over 20 miles a gallon driving 80, without even trying. So
I mean, I don't know the differences in gearing between those two cars.
Gearing would be the
I don't know.
But
But the gearing in a Cadillac's more awesome.
Cadillacs are geared for awesome.
Yeah. But you know, when you're really splitting hairs, that was a subtle thing that would make me want the E63 more, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know?
All right. So, yeah, I mean, I'll take either one of those. But 35 grand, I haven't seen any of that. I mean, but if you know, this year we'll see. If you guys get that for 35.1, I think it's proven.
I'll sell it to you for 37.
That's right. I'm sure you will.
We're gonna have to tell you it was $5 grand more than we spent anyway.
Right. Exactly.
I'm losing money on
You'll
this.
see how terrible we are. We'll be car dealers.
So another car from that era that I remember we were all really gushy about when it came out was the Audi Rs4 B7.
Yeah.
Now that thing being 35 grand now, I think.
Yeah, again, you know, if you're hung up on having the pristine, low miles one that has the titanium color package and all that stuff, you're gonna have to pay the premium for it. It'll be somewhere in the 40s, but they do exist in solid, good form. In the
Plenty
mid
of front end
to high
damage, you're
30s,
saying,
you
or
know?
like?
No, I'm just saying a car that's actually been driven and not wiped with a diaper every day, you know? So,
right.
So maybe, again, 50, 60,000 miles, something like that. But robust car, it can take it.
Another thing about that car is it's not my favorite car on the list, but it is certainly a collector on that list because they did only send circa 400 of them to America.
That few?
Not over the course of the development of it, not just each year. So not a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
You know, when you think Ferrari makes thousands of cars every year and all that now, there's
true.
not a lot of RS4s
You really
around.
don't see them around
Never
because
see
there
them.
aren't that many. Yeah.
When I drive it around, you would get like, you know, Audi fans kind of crazily freak out when you drive by and they would like hang out in your quarter panel. It looks like a
and again, in a relative sense, I would say that's the last Audi I've driven that was a real dynamic and engaging car, even though it was a little less dynamic engaging than the E90 M3.
Sure.
Because it's all-wheel drive and the engine's hanging over the front axle and stuff. It does a good job of masking that, and it's compared to, you know, we don't have an RS4, but an S4, which is a really fast car, but so surgical about it. You don't get any connection. You know, in the RS4, it still feels like a machine.
Sounds good too. This is one thing about that car.
Grunty,
the RS4
sounded much more hellish than you would expect it to.
I mean, as engines go, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's not dynamically, you're stuck with the engine where it is, and you're stuck with the all-wheel drive thing. But that 4.2 liter V8 is one of the best sounding engines of that era. I mean,
very angry.
Yeah, very angry. All right, anyway. All right, so next, Cayman S. This one always comes up, and obviously another one that wasn't at the 70,000 level when it came out. But
you could easily spec into 70.
We've tarted one up for more than 70.
Oh, sure. Well, you know,
we had the design edition.
Yeah,
we're very fancy.
We had the. We were out in California. We had the proverbial $125,000 Cayman. You know, sort of insanely specced up with stuff. But
what a good car, though, right? I know it's been reviewed and talked about thousands of times over, but what a great car the Cayman is.
All right,
and they've been in the 30s for the past couple years, to be honest, but it's such a good car, it deserves to stay on that list.
All right, when's the Spyder going to be?
A Boxster Spyder.
Saturday.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, they're still.
I know
they
the
go
roof
for
is
now.
hard to. I knew
They're still. You recently had.
Yeah, it was still. It's still in the 50s.
Because the Boxster Spyder, last one I saw was actually 60, and it was like a 10,000-mile car.
Yeah.
Between the two, I'd take the Cayman anyway. I drove them both. I like the Cayman a little
I
better.
think that if I were going to get a Boxster, I would really like to get the Spyder, because of course, again, with the luxurious hair.
If you were to get a Boxster, you'd get the Spyder, but I still like a Cayman a lot more.
Yeah. Okay. So Cayman R is never going to be 35 grand.
Yeah.
And that's the. You think?
Someday.
You think the Cayman R is ever going to go
well,
down that
maybe.
far?
I mean,
Because that's the one. I mean, honestly, like I'll take an S.
Yeah.
Because they're great. I mean,
It could use 10 more horsepower.
it could use 10 more horsepower. But you know what? Like in terms of depreciation, I want the R. Like I want that one to get down
So
there.
you're
But I
one
don't
of
know
those
if it's
guys.
ever
You're
gonna-
buying cars for the investment.
No, because I would. Well, if I were buying it for the investment, I don't want to average downward. I'll just say.
All right,
So I don't want a car that keeps depreciating every year to the point where, okay, wait a minute, now I can bounce
Yeah, but you're
off
the
the
kind of
bottom.
guy, I think that you would drive the shit out of anything you had, and you're going to depreciate anything
And it would
anyway.
depreciate anything
So
anyway.
just have fun with it.
Just have fun with it.
Party.
Yeah, but I'd say generally
That's exactly
most
it.
cars on this list if they hit this 35 grand mark, which we're saying they may in the next 12 months,
Right.
that will probably be their low, and they'll
Yeah.
go up from there. You know.
Yeah.
Look what we've already done to
to some
E30,
extent.
E30 M3s and NSXs. We've destroyed the value of all these cars already. This is whole, like, get them now.
Stupid
Actually,
NSXs.
look, we're filming this probably 3 days before it airs. You have to buy one now at the low price. By next Thursday.
Yeah.
Well, look what we did to NSXs. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, we did the show about why you had to buy an NSX. We did it right from here.
Yeah.
And NSXs, I mean, I don't want to take credit for it because I was actually reading in Sports Car Market in their pricing guide. They had been showing a trajectory upward on NSXs from, you know, 2012 onward. So, but it just sort of felt like we did that show and all of a sudden we can't find one
Well, we
for under 30
literally
grand
priced
anymore.
ourselves right out of one.
Did you
Because
really?
the like week after that aired, I think it was a black one that we saw. We were
Yeah.
pretty fond of.
Yeah.
And the guy raised the price. He was like, there's a lot of chatter about these right now.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we know.
But son of a bitch. You can't get an 05. What was the last year? 05? 04, 05?
Yeah, those are still up there. We're still talking
Those are
about
still
early
up there.
ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
91s. That's the one you want.
91s. Okay. So, all right, we're getting down to the end of the list. Lotus Exige S.
Yeah, I was never
Yeah.
really in the 70s either. But again, another
Oh,
car.
could easily be, yeah.
Actually, true.
Yeah,
Exige,
spec up.
Exige S, yeah, for
Exige
sure.
S, yeah.
Yeah.
Could have been 70.
And,
But so,
and again, I'm being a little hopeful that it will hit 35 because
Right.
there's still, and the last one we had, I bought, was it 3 years ago, the white one? 4 years ago for
Yeah.
The Martini one.
37.
Yeah.
And
And it
I-
had AP racing brakes.
And I haven't
Well
found
done.
another one that good for 37 since then. I mean, that was during the downturn. The prices
Yeah.
were all deflated. They've come up a bit.
yeah.
But I do think they're kind of hovering on the spot where you might be able to grab one in the mid-30s at some point.
I mean, I got to say, to me, that the Exige market just seems to keep percolating. Like, people
Yeah.
still want those. And people that bought them didn't drive them a whole lot because,
didn't.
you know.
Yeah.
I gotta say, you know, with the 90,000 people watching, not 10. For the ones who have no kids, like me, and have no sort of, you don't have a lot of need for your car, go drive one.
Yeah.
Seriously consider one for 35, 36 grand. You know, if you live in a cold place, the winter will be a little crappy, really hard to drive in the winter. But what a fun, when it works, when the weather is right, and when
Yeah.
it's a good driving experience, ton of fun.
Ooh, what do we got out there?
That's our
That's
new
our
ice
ice
racer.
racer.
What?
We're doing ice racing.
Where?
this
Where?
weekend.
Because I'm just talking to a guy about
Some
doing ice
lake
racing.
in Sheboygan. It's like north of, it's not Sheboygan.
Wisconsin.
No, it's north of Albany. It's 4
Yeah.
hours from New York.
I've been talking to those guys. I'm going to try to put something together.
Yeah.
Like a
Wait,
race
you're doing
team?
this? No, like just some kind of something.
I'm thinking we should take the.
Are
we
you
have-
really taking that thing?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah,
Yeah.
Adam bought it. It's his.
Oh my
I keep
God.
making fun of it, but I really just want to go drive it.
Yeah. We have a Noble in the back with 600 horsepower engine.
Oh,
I think we should take it out
I
of
saw
that.
that.
Just drop it in there.
That would be sick.
On ice. Ice
Okay.
capades.
Ice Capades. I'm sure that race team is probably that name taken. All right.
Just now. It's just taken right now.
Okay, 2 more cars on the $35,000 list in the next 12 months. Maserati Quattroporte.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I like it. I think it's. I mean, if I were to buy a big sedan, of that era, yeah, the S Class is a better car, but Quattroporte is more, it's got
I mean,
that Ferrari engine.
I really come around to those cars. And to be clear, the only one that you would want to buy is a 07.5 or newer with a real automatic gearbox.
Yeah.
The F1 gearbox ones have already been in the 30s because they're terrible,
Yeah, the robotic manual ones.
Yeah,
They're whack.
I mean, and it was just too heavy of a car for that gearbox.
They also
Destined
refined
to
the
fail.
exterior of it slowly, and so
Yeah.
once you
But
start getting
can
to the real auto.
those are in the
Yeah,
30s?
man.
Yeah, because the new one's out now. Again,
Oh, it's true.
the new one hit. There's a Ghibli out there that new is like 80 grand. So the old Quattroporte is just dropped. And I have to admit, I did a total 180 on those cars. I hated them from a distance forever. I'm like, it's ugly. Like, I don't get what people are excited about. Anything that car would do, the German version would do it better,
Right.
et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then we had a GTS that, again, my friend in the dealership
'Cause
bought
why
it.
not?
Yeah. And and that one has all the Alcantara bits. It's really nice, and the
Yeah.
sport exhaust. And I was like, I gotta admit, the thing sounds amazing.
Yeah.
No other big sedan sounds like this. And while it was imperfect for a reason. They tried to make it a big sedan that handles like a sports car, and the
Yeah.
handling was super sharp on center to the point where the car's a little nervous.
Yeah.
And when you drive on uneven road surfaces, it feels like it's broken because it moves around weird directions. But when you get on the right road, there's nothing as big that's as sharp as that car.
There's no other
you're also
big
getting
car.
a Ferrari-derived
Yeah.
engine for $35,000, and
That's
it has
true.
a lot of. It's Italian, so I don't want to use any of those adjectives, but it does apply to all of them.
Yeah.
Passion and all that bullshit. But they
Yeah.
are nice to drive. They sound great, and there's something about a Maserati. I drove our Gran Turismo, which I know is not a Quattroporte, but it's not far from it. I drove it upstate for a weekend, and where my wife is from, and they see plenty of cars, but you don't see a Maserati, and for some reason that was the most special thing I've ever driven up there. Like, I think outside of our small little tri-state area, it's quite a rare beast, and it is very ornamental and beautiful.
Especially on a drive like that, because it's a car that's made to like eat the road.
They make
you
good
can just
GT
get out there
cars.
and
Yeah. Well, but the thing about the Quattroporte is when you drive it, it's one of those cars that makes you feel special when you're driving.
It's like wearing a really good pair of shoes.
Yeah, it's like you go, what do I need a good pair of shoes for? Who gives a crap? And then you put on a really good pair of shoes and you're like,
I've been missing all this.
That's right. Or
And
like
it's quirky,
or like a
like-
really good or tailored suit, and usually you're wearing, a sweater's fine. Anybody who wears a suit's a douchebag. And then you put on a really nice suit and you're like, yeah, I got a really nice suit on.
We've had multiple Maseratis for years now, and I still don't know what any of the buttons on the steering wheel do. I have no idea what's going on with the radio. Like, it's all very complicated. You have to, if you get one, you got to like just kind of spend a weekend with it and go through the book, because there are buttons all over that thing.
And that would make sense. But that is the
It's kind of the
character.
fun of it,
and again, that's
It's perfectly
going to be
imperfect.
lost someday. Like as things become more and more similar, that quirky, weird character that makes the Maserati probably get filtered out, because they're going after a bigger segment. They're making more and more cars.
I think when it
more and
comes
more
to
feet on your
Italian
feet.
cars, I would say, in a very weird way, Maserati is like the most quirky Italian out of all of them, because Ferraris become very sophisticated.
Yeah.
Fiat 500s, they're quite cool, but it's a mini more or less, and
And
it's
then-
very well done and very well thought out. But a lot about the Maserati is still a total mystery to me.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I like that. I
And
like that.
It's true. I mean, now Fiat and Chrysler are together, and the cars are going to get better and better, and you're going to see them more homogeneous, and they're going, it's not going to be that different. You're right. It's interesting to see this past generation of Maseratis that are really kind of cork pots.
Yeah.
All right, last car on the list is not a car at all, is it?
Yeah.
What is it?
It's a F-150 Raptor.
the Raptor, yeah.
F-150 Raptor.
So Farah sold his and bought a minivan because his minivan is great, actually, I gotta say. But
Twice. He bought a minivan, and his minivan is great.
no, by the way, no.
Explain. You have to explain.
Well, it's a camera car, right? So it's much easier to do stuff. But it's like he got it for nothing. It's a
Because
Honda.
it's a minivan.
It's fantastic. It's great. It's luxurious but whatever.
Yeah.
So
my sister has one, and to be really honest, I get it. I'm like, it's kind of nice in here, but I know
Exactly.
I keep quiet.
but he did unload that Raptor, because I think a lot of people that bought them kind of drove them for a while and went, all right, this was fun.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great classic car club car. Something you very much want to drive. I don't know if you necessarily want to own it, but it's certainly fun. I mean, we terrorize New Yorkers in that thing.
Yeah,
great.
but if you do want to own it, so 35 grand, is that really the first gen one?
It's going to get there. I mean, they've been holding strong. I mean, you'll still see like 2-3-year-old ones for 50, which is what they sold for new.
Once the snow thaws.
Like Farah sold his for really well. It was a really well sold car.
Yeah, I mean, I know someone who bought one about a year ago for 37, but still, anytime anyone asks him if they'll sell it, he's like, "Yeah, give me 45." Like,
Right,
he's
sure.
He doesn't want to sell it. He loves the
Yeah.
thing, but it's they'll dip down there. The new F-150's out. I know the F-150 Raptor isn't out yet, but there'll be new trucks, and I think another cool thing about it, the interior of that truck is actually looking really dated now, which I kind of like.
Yeah.
It's like really blocky and like,
Right, with those that console with the slider and the sort of weird
It's
pistol.
the truck that everything should be really far away from you and monstrous.
Yeah. And to add to our
part of the
hard to
mystique.
reach, right?
to add to our last of list, it's going to be the last of the steel F-150s.
Oh, there you go.
There'll be
Keeping
guys
up the
hanging
list,
on.
yeah.
There'll be like rust, rust bucket groups. Who be like, yeah, man, I got the last of the steel
Yeah, it's
F-150.
got patina, man. It's not rust. It's gonna change.
Your F-150 will never rust. Loser.
They'll be like spray on patina.
Have you driven a Raptor?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're fun.
They're fun. They're great. And you know, maybe you don't want to jump it a lot,
Yeah.
as people have found out with the
Bending frames and
frames.
stuff.
But
Yeah.
you know what? I mean, maybe that's not in their duty
I have to
cycle.
be honest, I've owned a lot of cars. I've never jumped any of them.
No.
But
Yeah.
We jumped one
If you're
at
gonna
0 to
jump.
60 once.
What'd you jump?
Well, it was a Raptor, and
Oh, I saw that, right.
yeah,
Right.
well, this is years
That
ago.
feels
This is
like
when
a
the
long
Raptor
time
first
ago.
came out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it was
been around that
2010
long.
or
That's why
something. It's
they're
been a long
35
time.
grand.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's it. That's the list. We'll put up the list on /drive.tv so you can take a look at it and obviously criticize it because that's what we
Don't
want you guys
criticize
to
it,
do.
add to it.
Add to it and then criticize it because criticizing is fun, as we
All right.
know from
Cool.
our commenters who are awesome. Zach Moseley,
Thanks.
Mike Prichinello, good to see you, dude.
Always a pleasure.
Yes, Manhattan Classic Car Club Manhattan.
Whatever you say, but it is classic car.
So tell me about this thing,
Oh, look at that.
because I just saw that and I was like, oh yeah, that's
Isn't that a beautiful thing?
it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
I have to say, a little career tip. If you're gonna have a career that's your passion, you have to do things like that so you don't get jaded. When that car came in, when we bought that and I drove it back, I was scared shitless driving it in the rain. I was like, oh, don't crash. I have no idea what it's capable of. That car has made me completely love cars again. Not that I ever didn't love them, but
So
fall in love again.
now, obviously, that's not the original
Why you say it obviously?
GT40.
What's up? We don't ball enough for you?
No, it doesn't have patina. It's a
No,
little
that
too
is
gorgeous.
actually, that's a wonderful car. That one's made by CAV, and that particular car was made for the president of CAV, but it's
Ah.
very, very well made.
He's also a client.
He's also, I think he has hair.
Does anybody even get that reference anymore? That's like an 80s reference. Yeah, the
Showing-
Hair Club for Men reference.
But it has a stainless steel monocoque chassis. It has a very, very raced up 302 in it. I mean,
Yeah.
We've had it well
Yeah,
north of
proper race
7,000
motor.
RPM, which normally would
Blow
mean
up a
there's pistons in the back
302,
of your head. But, you know, having owned a couple of GTs, Ford GTs, which we love, right? So we love, but that is so much more forgiving. I don't know if forgiving is the word. Drivable.
No. It's not. It's neither of those
It's
things.
neither of those things.
No, you don't think? I find it to be.
It's
totally
not
much
as
more
wide,
predictable.
right? So it's
Yeah,
less-
well,
I think the GT
well,
with the Ford GT, I was like, oh, because
Yeah.
you know it was very spin happy with the tires. It had that thing.
Yeah, I mean,
It's much more of a race car.
It's not supercharged. It doesn't have as much low end torque. So
Right.
in that sense, it's forgiving that you can put your foot down and it will scare you and shake you, but it's not going to just spin and
It won't
suck
just
you
It's not
up.
going to
spin
spin,
you
but
around
I think
immediately,
it will take a corner at speed. Not that I've had it at speed, but at a speed, pretty handily.
Yeah.
I'm surprised by it. It doesn't feel
Yeah.
like all the other old race type cars.
Yeah, I'll put it this way. Like, we bought it without really driving it, right? And I was just like, whatever, we have to buy it. It's
Sight
cool.
unseen.
And no, we saw it, but
but like
it's not a car that you really
don't
get
even
to
get
test drive, you know? Yeah, you see it? Yeah. So I was just like, oh man, I don't know what we're getting everyone into. This seems, and when I actually got to drive it, I was really impressed. It is a lot more drivable. Like you can, and you know, if you have your wits about you, you can really drive it, enjoy it without getting into a lot of
You have
trouble.
to acclimate yourself to its proportions.
Yeah.
That's the one thing. Sort of, it's a little difficult to see out of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's as wide as it
and,
is
and,
long, so
and you
make
know,
sure-
driving it just to get out of the city is probably one of the most challenging tasks
Yeah.
in the world because it has like a race clutch, so there's no
And
smooth
everybody has a
engagement.
You
cell
want to
phone
do it at
Just-
like 4 a.m., like when nobody's around.
It's just like
People
there's,
just stand in front of you with a camera.
yeah, there's no smoothly rolling away from stoplight. It's and the thing takes off, you know, and you can't see out of it, whatever. But when you actually get out on an open road and you aren't worried about cars around you, you feel really connected and you're looking straight at the road, and it's not that intimidating to drive. To be
Yeah.
honest, you can go highway speed and have a conversation one hand on the wheel. You know,
Yeah.
stuff like
Cool.
that, but it's cool.
Well, very good. Awesome.
All right.